Greetings, Jellyspoons, and welcome back to this episode of Monday Madness, the Monday show where I talk about anything and everything, and today we're talking about the Barbie movie. Yeah, this movie went hard. This movie went hard in ways that it didn't need to. I was not expecting it to. I looked up no spoilers. I saw one very short trailer for it. I saw nothing else. I was completely unprepared before I walked into this movie. And I walked into this movie with 21 friends in a group of 22 people. And we took up an entire row of a full cinema, full house, and we watched the Barbie movie. And we had dressed up. I was wearing my Kindle outfit. Everyone was dressed up. We had popcorn, we had sweets, we had drinks. We were all chatting and we were going to have a great time. And we did. We did have a great time. But also, this movie, this movie, as we walked out of the cinema and we were all talking about it, the collective agreement we seemed to come to was that we all feel like we just witnessed a piece of cinematic history. And that probably sounds really overdramatic and kind of dumb to anyone who has not yet seen this movie. But genuinely, I think this movie, it's hard to explain. I feel like this movie is very important and it's gonna be talked about for a long, long time. Okay, spoiler section at the end. For now, I'm just gonna talk about, the Barbie movie. So, spoiler free for the next couple of minutes. The Barbie movie is delightful and enjoyable, it is chaotic and bright and colourful, and it's all the things that my attention, desperately dopamine-starved brain loves in a movie. There was absolutely zero filler in this movie. Everything had a point and a purpose, and we went from moment to moment to moment to moment. A bit like when you are playing with, not exclusively Barbies, I'd say toys in general. You know, there isn't really, you don't do the filler bits. You go from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. And I assume that is what was intended, particularly in some of the scenes and the way that they are shot when they go from a car to a bike to a spaceship and it sort of rolls on from one to the next to the next to the next. So I feel like this probably was intentional. It's a very similar way of writing that I use when writing my current podcast that I am writing currently. Man, that was a terrible sentence. But I don't do filler. I can't do it. It makes my brain hurt. So I just go from moment to moment to moment. If something is not happening that is important or character driven or in any way relevant, we skip it because who needs it? Who needs the filler? And that is definitely what the Barbie movie did. So there is zero filler in this movie, which made me very happy, and anyone else whose brain works in a vaguely similar way to mine will also be very happy to know that. It is beautiful to look at. Everything that I complained about when watching the Peter Pan and Wendy movie, which was just grey and saturated and boring and there was no magic and fantasy whatsoever, this is completely the opposite. Even the scenes that take place in the real world, and I don't consider that a spoiler because in a lot of the trailers it does say Barbie is going to reality. So even seeing Barbie in the real world, those scenes still manage to be colourful and bright and wonderful. And of course, we aren't in the real world for very much of the movie, so while it is definitely less colourful and exciting than the Barbie land, it's still nonetheless colourful just as a movie in general. Hello, dog, can I help you? Puppy. 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 Every single one of the costumes were fantastic. The Barbies, the Kens, the Alan, all of their outfits were beautifully made, and as a costume person, that was the huge point that I was watching in this movie. I was looking at all these clothes and the details and the way that the jewelry was sort of bigger than it would be on a human person, but when it was on a Barbie and it was just all these little details that were so fantastic. And if you spot the like hidden bees, they've got little bees everywhere, little Barbies, even in the carpet at one point. I think I saw some hidden bees that had been stamped into it, as in be the letter, not be the buzz. It was just a visual feast. There was something to look at all times, even if, and I can't understand why, but even if you were one of those people who didn't like the plot, there was still so much to look at that you could be distracted by it and it really wouldn't matter. Just in general, the movie had great pacing, it had great timing, it was funny, it made you laugh. At some points, the entire cinema, like it was shaking, people were laughing so hard, but it also makes you feel, we'll get more into that in the spoiler section, but you feel a lot of things that you definitely were not expecting to when you come into a movie that's called the Barbie movie. I think unfairly, I did this as well as a lot of people I expect. I walked into this movie, it was called the Barbie movie. I thought, okay, cute, fun, adorable, just a fun, rompy movie, and it'll be enjoyable and I'll laugh and it'll be great. Was not expecting to feel feelings at all, and I did. And you know how I hate that. So that's going to wrap up the spoiler-free section of this. Honestly, genuinely, go watch this movie. If you can get to the cinema, go get to the cinema. If you can't, then I guess yo-ho. But if you can, genuinely go watch this movie. It's really, really good. I highly recommend. At points, this movie was genuinely difficult to watch. And I feel like my viewing experience was a very, very weird one because of who I am. And it means that I both felt a great deal of guilt and shame and also complete understanding and togetherness. And that was really hard for me. Let me explain. So the storyline culminates with our main Barbie character, the stereotypical Barbie. And she has gone on this journey. She has discovered a wonderful mother and daughter. She has helped out their relationship. They've learned, they've grown. She's learned, she's grown. They've gone through different things. They've talked about the patriarchy. They've talked about men and women and gender and roles in society and discovering what the real world is like and what Barbie Land is like and trying to fix things and how can we make it better. And then when they are about to do their big sort of overthrow of the absolute trash fire that the Kens have made of Barbie Land, and there's this moment, and anyone who's seen this movie probably knows what moment I'm talking about. It's the moment where America's character, Gloria, starts talking so passionately and so openly and honestly about what it is like to be a woman in the real world. And she talks about not just the struggles, but the highs as well. But how with every high there's always a low and there's always something that's dragging you around and you're being pulled in all these different directions. She talks about how you're supposed to want to be the best mother ever but not talk about your kids too much. You're supposed to want to be career driven and also not be bossy. You're supposed to be a caregiver and thin and healthy and pretty but not too pretty and not in competition but also big each other up but also this but also that, and there's always a but. And she gets more and more passionate and driven the more she speaks. She starts sort of tired and exhausted and saying, look, this is shit, basically. And then she carries on as she gives more details and more details. And her daughter is listening, and all the Barbies are listening, and you, the audience, are listening. And she lists off all these things, and they're not controversial, and they're not huge. They're just true. And the fact that she's saying them, it's not that no one has said this before, it's the fact that you're listening and it has impact and it is the spark that changes the entire story. And I think a lot of people watch that scene and as women feel empowered and happy and like, yes, thank you, you're saying it and people can hear you and it's not being downplayed and it's just being listened to. It's not being, oh, they're there. It's not being, oh, yes, let's fix it, problem solver. It's being just acknowledged out there as an acknowledgement that this is something that is happening. And yes, they do go on to try to fix things. But the important thing for me watching that scene was that it was just being heard. But then also, with that scene, you have other people who will watch it. And you will have cis men who will watch that scene and probably feel very uncomfortable watching that scene. And who will, because it's true. And the good kind of cis men, the allies, the encouraging, the good ones, the non-performative good cis men, will watch that scene and go, fuck. Like, and it makes them uncomfortable and they almost don't want to watch and they're waiting for a joke probably to, you know, lighten the mood, but there just isn't one because it's just true and honest and you have to face this reality that these things happen all the time and that this isn't okay and this is a way that a huge part of the population have to exist but shouldn't have to exist that way. And so that scene has huge impact in a variety of different ways. Some of it makes people really think and it's uncomfortable and they don't want to, but you have to face it in that scene, you have to think about it. And you have some people who are going, finally we're being listened to. You have some people who are just cheering just to hear these things. You have some people who it will make sad because they're accepting the reality and various different things like that. And I did feel those things. But also, I ended up having my own little existential crisis watching that scene because I am actively pursuing something else while having literally lived and existed and understanding everything that Gloria was saying in that scene. I grew up and existed in a world as a female. I know exactly what she's talking about. I have experienced the majority of it. And I am actively changing that because I was never really a girl. And I know that now. And looking back on so many different things that happened in my life, I know that. And it makes so much sense to me and everybody in my life and all the people around me who are so insanely supportive. And I'm very happy with that. And at no point while watching this scene did I question my identity. But I did have a really big internal spew over of feelings, and that's what got to me about that scene. Some of my friends, my cis female friends, they were crying at that scene because of relating to it in certain ways. I had wonderful cis men with me who were feeling horribly uncomfortable with that scene, but watching it because they knew they had to and they knew it was important. And you had me, little me, sat there watching this scene going, man, I feel kind of guilty about every decision and piece of identity I have right now because this is important and everything that they're saying is true and I have experienced it, but I am moving away from that. As a trans guy, I am choosing to do all of these things for my own identity, to step away from all of those struggles that women face all the time. And I am moving into a different space. Now, when I talked about this afterwards, I did have it pointed out to me that I will have other struggles. Fair. But it did leave me with a lot of both conflicting and complementary guilt and shame, and also, rousing acknowledgement of, yes, this is a thing, this needs to be talked about. So it was a very hard scene for me to watch because of all the feels it gave me. And I am choosing to see that as a positive thing because I have been and I love this new phrase and I'm going to use it all the time, I grew up and spent the first part of my life as an involuntary undercover secret agent within the world of females. And now that I'm moving away from that space, I can take all of that knowledge and all of that understanding and I can move it into the space that I am going into now and help everyone that I meet and everyone in that space to acknowledge and understand that these are real things that happen. It's not just made up, it's not just exaggerated, and it's important that we do that. And I hope that any other trans people who watch this movie feel a very similar way, in whichever, for lack of a better word, direction you are moving, because we will have grown up with very specific experiences, which we will then carry over into our new experiences on the other side, for lack of a better term. And I think that's important. And it could be the key to really breaking down all the barriers between male, female, gender, blah, 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 blah. I genuinely think that it could help because you will have people who have quite literally experienced both. And then we can all help each other. Yeah, fix the stuff. But it's not going to be as simple as that. Or is it? Could the Barbie movie quite literally help to change the world? I don't think it's too far-fetched to say maybe, because you have to watch that scene amidst the chaos and the wonderful costumes and the beautiful sets and the amazing cinematography and how all of the practical effects were done and the plot and the hilarious songs and the Kens and the Barbies and all of that. There is very, very real problems that are being addressed and brought into the light in a completely open and honest and truthful way. And that will make some people feel very uncomfortable. It will make some people feel very uplifted. It will make some people just feel sad. And it will make some people feel friggin' confused. But it is hugely important. And I think if more people can just be brave enough to sit down and watch and really comprehend what they are saying in this movie, then hell yeah, maybe Barbie can help us to change the world. I'm not going to talk about too much more of the plot or the spoilers because I think really that one scene was the one I really wanted to talk about. So I am not going to spoil any more of the movie. I'm not going to tell you how it ends, although the last line, I was not expecting it to go where in fact, you know what? In this entire movie, they never went where I expected them to go. Every time I thought, oh, they're gonna do this. Okay, that'll be fun to watch. Nope, they didn't. Every time I thought they were gonna zig, they zagged. Every time I thought, yeah, this is gonna go this way, that's gonna be fun. No. It went in a complete curveball. It was amazing to watch. It was hilarious, it was deep, it was thought-provoking, horribly thought-provoking. And the very last line was the ultimate form of zagging when I thought they were gonna zig. And it was all the better for it. It was hilarious. Very small spoiler for what the ending is not. I basically thought that she was walking into her new job, which I think is what you were supposed to think. I think you were supposed to think she was walking into Mattel or something like that, and she was walking into her new job, and then she gets to the desk and she says, "Hi, I'm here for..." And I just went, oh my god, because she... Yeah, that was hilarious and a wonderful, wonderful note to end it on, and I was so excited for her. I was genuinely going, I'm so excited for you. You get to, you get all the things you want. Oh, that's cool. And yeah, so that was a really great note to end it on, and I will end this video on that happy note as well. All right. Sorry for the minor down a bit in the middle, but I hope in general that you guys got something out of this video, and if you haven't been to see the Barbie movie yet, please do so, because I have spoiled this much of it for you. All right. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful week, my wonderful Jellyspoons. I will see you very soon. Bye-bye. Wait, I did that wrong. Had a Ken's wave. Bye. Is it poofy enough? That is the question. Is it poofy enough?